We have a table of bottled water here. Please help yourself. Mahalo, mahalo to Francis Kao from Haima, who also manages the Disaster Recovery Center. But there is a table of bottled water, so please help yourself. Okay, I think Mia, we're good. All right, we are good on live streaming. Aloha and welcome. We have a few important topics tonight, but before I turn this over to Mayor Bisson, I'm going to go over the agenda and make a couple of announcements, and then we're going to go ahead and proceed. Okay, we have more than a few announcements. First of all, tonight on our agenda, you're going to meet our new leadership, our new on-island leadership from the Army Corps of Engineers. Last week, we heard from Colonel Curry and Mayor that Colonel Curry, after many, many months, will be going back to home, I believe. And you'll also be hearing about the alternative debris removal program. Last week, we had a question about concerns voiced about traffic. So our Director of Public Works is here to address that as best he can, along with talking about alternative debris removal program. And of course, tonight we'll be covering the permanent disposal site for Lahaina ash and debris. We realize that there are a variety of interests on that topic. We do have the questions and answer period at the very end. And mahalo for so much interest in it. It was just brought to my attention, there's a flyer circulating with information. Great, please ask questions about that during the Q&A sessions. We're happy to address any of it, and we'll get back to you on any that we cannot at this evening. And then of course, we'll do a question and answer period. Mia, next slide. I don't know what the clicker is. Sorry. Oh, look at that, automatic. Department of Health is not able to join us tonight, but they did want you to know that they would like to meet with the residents of Wahikuli next week, Wednesday at 4 o'clock, right here, to have a discussion about cesspools at Wahikuli. As you remember, we had that topic come up last week. A lot of questions on it. Department of Health representatives did their best to respond. They're still working on some of those answers that they promised to get back to you. And so they will be here next week at 4 o'clock for that reason in particular. And then before I turn it over to Mayor, I wanted to call out a few people. For the last 3 months, they've been doing some fantastic work under a short initiative that we had. For 3 months, we had a team of 5 going out. We've been calling them the Kokua crew. And so their contract has since ended with us, but they've done phenomenal work out in the community, just helping us understand what are some of the key issues, being our sounding board for some of those critical issues that we've been trying to address. But I sure would like to at least acknowledge them. And I'm just going to read their names because some of you may know them. And when you see them, just mahalo them and tell them thanks. Yeah, really appreciate their work. But we had Janice Herrick with us as part of the county's Kokua crew, along with her granddaughter. It was her granddaughter team, Tatum Herrick. We had a brother and sister team, Leimana and Keone Hassett. They are part of the Lahaina town themselves, along with Shannon E. and Jackie Keeve. That was a terrific crew, and we so mahalo the Kokua crew that has been with us. Well, thank you. You've seen them over a few months around town. They wear their own county shirts. But I also would like to mahalo David Snyder. I don't know where he went. Is he like hiding? Oh, look, he blended in. He's waving over there. David is from San Diego. He joined us over 3 months ago. We wish we could keep him for 3 more years, maybe. But he's part of a digital team. He was referred by a team of California Cal Fire crews that came in. You know, when you look at our social media page, you see those fabulous videos, those information videos produced by our county team. Those are David Snyder and Mia Ai. You see Mia, where's Mia? Running around as well, those two with the camera. So please mahalo David for us. David, if you can wave, people know. Just tell them thank you. We so appreciate it. We're a little like panicking. I want to hide his suitcase, but I think his family wants him back, so it's okay. We'll be fine. But thank you all very, very much, Coco crew as well as David. I'm going to turn this over to Mayor Bisson now. He's got something special. I'm going to hold the bag for you.
Aloha mai kako, everyone. Thank you to our members of our advisory team that are here tonight. I see Kimball and I see Kaliko, Star. Thank you folks for coming and for the work you guys put in for us all the time. Thank you. So I wanted to take some time. I know we brought it up last week that Colonel Jess Curry, I'm going to have to ask him to come down here one more time. While he does that, I wanted to thank Miss Hiraga for this pukeni lei that you made for me. Thank you very much for bringing this tonight. Yes. If you guys, no, her daughter made this for me. Sorry, Leslie made this for me. She brought it, but, and Leslie was recently at one of our talk stories that we had in Kahana. So I got to meet her and found out how she knows my mom and you folks know my mom. So thank you. Because if you stand on that side of the gym, you can smell some of the sewer. But if you wear this lei, you cannot smell the sewer. So this really came in handy tonight of all the times that I've come to the gym. So Colonel Curry is going to be going home tomorrow to Illinois, where he comes from. And he's returning, I found out today, to his 5 children. He 2 in college, 1 as a senior in school, and 2 younger. So those of us who had raised our children, you know how important senior year is. So while we are going to miss him, he was only supposed to be here for 3 months, and he got extended a second tour for 6 months. I don't think he expected that when he left his family, and now he gets to return to them. So we made a little something for him. So now, Mahina, yeah, you can take that out of here. So of course, now that he's familiar with the geography of Maui, this is in the shape of the island of Maui. And I just want to read what it says. United States Army Corps of Engineers, Colonel Jess Curry, mahalo no ko kako ame ko aloha no Maui. And we put the translation, because although by now I know you know what it means. It says, thank you for your support and love for Maui. It's dated today. And so we hope that this will be a small token. It obviously doesn't represent what we think you've done for us here, but something you can take home and take with you to remember us by. Colonel Curry, everybody. And again, this is from all of us here on Maui.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mayor. And, I hadn't planned on saying anything tonight. I kind of tried to get that out of the way last week. But let me just say that what an honor it's been to be here and to be among this community in a time when, you've faced the worst challenges that any of us could imagine. I would think back to the first days that I got here and the pain and the suffering and the grieving that we were here to try to help relieve you from a little bit, just in the smallest ways possible. But those were hard days, and they're still hard days. But it has been, I would say it has changed my life to be able to be here as I have, and amongst the pain, amongst the the continued suffering and challenges that are in front of you, just to see some glimmers of hope come back into your eyes has been really special. And you know, the Corps of Engineers team, FEMA, and all the folks here that come to do a job, come to accomplish a mission, received and continue to receive something tremendously greater than that as getting to be a part of this community. So I want to say just thank you so much. This has changed my life. I will be back with my family to see the rebuild of Lahaina and everything back to a town that will represent how amazing this community is and has been to me my entire time here. So thank you.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Colonel, can we get another picture with a council member? You guys go ahead. And while they're doing that, I am going to introduce our next speaker, your council member for West Maui, Tamara Paulton.
Aloha mai kako. I just wanted to thank everyone that came to the HHFDC town hall yesterday. I think it was somewhat informative. And for folks that had questions about the FEMA ineligible housing plans, they stood up a website yesterday, and that's kalaiola.org. So if you are FEMA ineligible and you have any questions about the housing being planned to come online for FEMA ineligible folks, you can go to kalaiola.org. That's KALAIOLA.org, and you can ask questions on that website. The other thing I think that was important that we learned last night was if you're FEMA ineligible because you have insurance money for alternative living expense or loss of use, and you are unable to find a rental with that insurance money, you can go see Mr. Todd House back there with FEMA, and they will help find you a place. And when your insurance money runs out, then you become FEMA eligible and they can help you with that rent. So that was something not a lot of folks had known previously and were pretty surprised when they found out. So I just wanted to pass that forward from last night. Thank you.
Aloha. Good evening. Thank you for that warm welcome. I just wanted to again thank Colonel Jess Curry for his 6 months of commitment to the people of Lahaina and Kula as he helped you through this very challenging time. My name is Colonel Eric Swenson. I currently command the St. Paul. Well, currently here doing this, but my other job is I command the St. Paul District of the Army Corps of Engineers, and that's in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I have responsibilities for about 5 states doing civil works projects, mostly on the Mississippi River and a couple water-based watersheds up on the northern border between the United States and Canada. It's an absolute honor for me to be here. And like Colonel Curry, I'll probably be here for 6+ months as well. And by that point, I'm certain that we will have the majority of Lahaina debris either removed or well under the way to be removed. And I look forward to being here, walking with you through this journey. Now, I'd also like to give you an update. Residential debris removal continues. We have a total of 168 residential sites that have been cleared of debris. And as of today, we've returned 27 of those rights of entry back to the county. So that's a great start, considering we've been at this for just over about 40 days. Also, other great news yesterday, we signed the contract for the phase 2 debris removal for commercial and public sites. And that removal contract will start in the coming weeks as the contractor gets organized and starts to remove debris from the commercial buildings in Lahaina. So you might see an uptick in activity in the Lahaina area, which is a good sign, because it means we're one step closer to returning Lahaina to you. Just a note on that: the same environmental and cultural protocols will apply to the commercial debris contract as do the residential. So rest assured, we're going to take every precaution as we have with the residential clearance to make sure we do it safely and respectfully of the cultural that may be in the ground. This contract will also maximize, as with residential, the recycling of steel, concrete, and trees. I just want to make sort of public service announcement. I just want to remind everyone to have your property cleared by the Corps of Engineers and part of the FEMA program. We need to have your right of entry signed and submitted. So if there's any fence sitters out there, that's okay. I have a team here. See these people up on the stage in a red shirt? It says Army Corps of Engineers, or someone with a FEMA shirt. We will certainly talk to you about the pros and cons, and really the pros of opting in to a Corps program, so that you can be one of those 27 families that have your lots cleared and ready to start rebuilding. Also, I just wanted to share some more great news. Community. As you know, you lost your elementary school in the fire, which was a great tragedy because it happened just before the start of the school year. But I'm pleased to announce that this week we have completed construction of the temporary school site, and students will return for the fourth quarter of the academic year in April. And if that's not, if you can't get excited about that, I don't know what we can get excited about. Yeah. And if I didn't say it already, I just want to, I used to teach math, right? So I just want to give everyone a little foot stomp. We are here to help remove the debris. And if you'd like to opt in, we'd like to help you get your property clear. So if you haven't opted in, or you know someone that hasn't opted in, please share our information. Have them, drag them down here. Call us on the phone. We want to get your property clear so that your future will be brighter as you start to have a clean spot that you can rebuild on. Again, thank you for the warm welcome. Mahalo.
Aloha, good evening. I'm Jordan Molina. I'm your director with Public Works. I've been asked to come talk to you folks about two items. The first being the alternate debris removal program, and then about our traffic situation in Lahaina. So first off, alternate debris removal on Saturday, the county held a workshop up at Lahaina Luna School. So that session was recorded, so you can go on the YouTube at County of Maui. We went through a whole kind of detailed presentation of what's going to be required to get through the alternate debris program. So I would encourage anybody who's still considering to review that video, get a sense of all the requirements, so you're informed on your decision. Those standards we anticipate getting to council this month for adoption, and then at that point, debris will be fully open. One of the major thing about alternate debris right now that we're working through is where we're going to be able to take that debris, given our challenges with finding a disposal site. So Director Ogawa is here this evening to talk about that disposal site coordination. So right now, unfortunately, the alternate program, we're kind of in a holding pattern until we can get that debris site established, so we have a place for the alternate debris to be delivered to. I would just encourage you to consider the Army Corps program. So as Public Works, we're in charge of coordinating both the Army Corps program and as well as this alternate program. And, really, unless you have a very particular need that doesn't fit within the Army Corps program, there's really no benefit to you to opting out. It's going to be more expensive on you. It's going to be a slower process. And there really is no difference in requirements. All the same requirements that the Army Corps is conducting on your behalf now will be your responsibility to implement, to engage your consultants, to engage your contractors, to keep them on schedule, to make sure everybody's doing what they need to do, to get those records back to the county. All of that responsibility falls on the owners to implement, whereas through the Army Corps, they're handling all of that for you. So really, unless you have a very unique circumstance that you think doesn't fit, I would encourage you to, again, review that video that's online about what those requirements are. If you have a question, you can speak to the Army Corps folks, or you can contact Public Works as well. If you want to get into your specific situation about why you think alternate program is better for you, we can help you understand all those requirements. Okay, so now onto traffic. So yeah, unfortunately, the biggest traffic impact from the fire is the loss of Honopilani Highway, right, between Kiawe Street and Laniopoko. As Colonel Swenson said, we are not fully into debris removal yet. There's still contracts being set up. We don't have all the crews mobilized yet, so we really haven't hit peak debris removal activity. So because of that, we're not prepared yet to open that highway to be able to manage the regular traffic and all this debris traffic without and make sure it's safe for everybody to operate. So as we ramp up operations over the next couple months, that is an effort we're tracking closely to figure out when is that sweet spot where we can keep debris rolling efficiently and allow people safe travel on the highway to help kind of stem that bottleneck we have at Kiawe Street. That is the most biggest effort we have right now to try and give some relief to our traffic situation. Short term, we do have that project to try and put the traffic signals on Kiawe Street to help ease the movements in and out. Of course, that won't necessarily help congestion, but that's the other traffic mitigation that's at play in the foreseeable future right now. Longer term, of course, we have the extension of the bypass to the north. That one is not actively in the planning phases right now, as the state's focused on the southern project to do the realignment for the segment that's in the ocean. But that's kind of the big project that's teed up next for Lahaina as far as more capacity on the highways. So yeah, I'll be around for Q&A. We have a representative from State DOT if we have any specific questions for them as well. But thank you for attending this evening.
No. So I just wanted to mention something about the traffic. Some of you may be driving through Honoapi'ilani Highway because you're allowed to or because you have a reason to. Just be aware that there's been an uptick in people driving fast going to Honoapi'ilani. Obviously, they want to avoid the bypass, they want to avoid the traffic, and some people have been reportedly coming down Honoapi'ilani pretty fast. If you're one of those people, just be aware you still need to follow the speed limits that are in that road, even though you look like you're alone. You're really not. There's a lot of traffic in there, and there's going to be more. So I just wanted to get ahead of this before more people start to go into the zone. If you're one of those folks that are allowed to go through, you have permission or a reason, please stick to the speed limit. I understand Maui Police Department will be enforcing the speed in there as more traffic starts to go through that town. So please understand it's a work site. There's a lot going on in there, a lot of big trucks, a lot of movement, but we do have to stick to the speed limits. We don't want to have any accidents happen in there because you think and it seems safe to drive faster. So I just wanted to remind people of that. Okay, thank you again. I'd like to introduce Shane Agawa, who's going to talk to you about what came through.
Good evening, everybody. Shane Agawa, Director of Environmental Management. Good to see a lot of you again. First of all, I'd just like to thank Sarah Jenkins and Bob Schmidt, our Deputy of DEM, for last week doing the presentation on the survey results. a lot of data to share. Tonight, what I'm going to share with you is how that survey results played a part in us selecting the final disposal site for the Lahaina debris. So first, I'd like to start off with just going back and revisiting some of the slides from last week's presentation. I want to thank everybody who took the survey. We had over 2,700 people either take the online survey or the random call-in email survey. The more people we got, the better the data. We didn't expect this much, but we're gladly surprised a lot of you took the survey and participated. We got very good data, and as we move through the slides, you're going to see how we incorporated the results of the survey into the scoring of the final disposal site. This is one of the slides from last week. This shows how we group how the results of importance. The upper two are the more important ones via the survey results to the public. The red is the medium importance, and the bottom green is the lower end of the importance. These affect the scoring criteria that we've been using in scoring the site from day one. If you folks remember, we had our original 8 locations that we scored at. We did it based on an infrastructure mindset, based on health and safety, environmental concerns. These will affect the criteria, and as we move on, we'll show you how it affects it as far as the scoring goes. This is another slide from last week. Again, the color-coded. Number 1 is the higher importance that was brought to us by the survey. The safe distance from natural environmental features, the buffer zone between residential areas, schools, hospitals, those was of higher importance via the survey. The medium importance was considering the subject matter experts and also about cultural resources concerns. And again, on the lower end in green, it was about roadway safety, how long it will take to get ready, meaning to develop the PDS site, and then also the increase in traffic congestion. So those are ranked lower on the survey of importance. We're going to use this as one of the examples to show and tie in how the scoring affects the scoring matrix. So for example, let's take how long it will take to make the site ready as just an example. What Deputy Schmidt shared with you last week was an example of this, showing how we originally scored it with the green, red. Now we took the public input from the survey into consideration. It changed the importance of the criteria. So once we incorporated the results of the survey to a certain criteria, it affects the scoring and it affects the change of the color of importance of that certain criteria. Again, this is just one example, and we'll get into the actual scoring. So just to kind of give you an example of how we factored the results of the survey into our scoring. So what we did was we took the 3 categories, the importance, the medium importance, and the lower importance, and we took the average mean. And I want to reach out and say thank you to our consultants, Anthology. They really helped out in doing the number crunching and applying the survey results to our scoring process. So once we get the average mean of each of the different importance of criteria, that becomes a multiple. I know I'm getting a little technical, so bear with me. That multiple is a number that times our infrastructure scoring team's score. So you have our score and you have the multiple, which is based on importance. Now, the green, red, blue, important, medium, and low, that's the multiple. That times our score, and then we get the actual weighted score. And I'll show you in the future slide how that works. So here is going back to the original matrix. This is before we took public input into consideration. As you can see here, we have in the first colored column, well, the first column is all the criteria. Time to acquire land, proximity to Lahaina, etc. We've gone through this many times. The first colored column is how we originally scored the importance of each category. This is before public input. And then after we scored it, we came up with a scoring matrix of ranking the different locations. This is the new final matrix scoring. So if you look on the first column here, the green, the blue, and the red, that corresponds with the order of importance I talked to you before that's based on the survey. How that affects the first column colored column here is it weights the importance of the criteria. The evaluation stays the same. The weighted ranking times our score that would be put in this white column. These two columns times each other gives us the weighted score. So that's an example of how the results of the survey affects the actual score of the matrix. I'd like to also highlight that after hearing from the public, we also included an additional criteria, which is the cultural resources impact. That last row wasn't part of the initial scoring, but after we heard from the public, we understood the importance of the cultural resources impact, and we put that in the scoring matrix. So if you look at the top three criteria, time to acquire land, proximity to Lahaina, access in and out of traffic impacts, you can see that it changed from green to red because the lower importance was on logistics, which was the green. That was lower ranked on the survey. So it changed it from green to red, meaning importance of green, high importance to red. And I'll briefly just go through all of these because it's the same impact for each criteria. These are just examples of how the color changed based on the results of the survey. So for distance to residential schools and hospitals, it went from a yellow to a green because that was blue ranked very high of importance to the public. Distance to hospitals, residential, and schools. This one is a surface water management construction, which is part of the logistics part of the phase of the PDS. The logistics part was a lower importance, so it went from green to yellow, and then the management constructability part went to red, lower importance, red. Here you can see the side-by-side, our initial matrix before public input. On the right, you have the final matrix with public input. If you look at the circles, those are all the different criteria that changed due to the public input. For example, the top three was green, now it's red because of the lower importance to the public. The one in yellow went from yellow to green. The one at the bottom in that first color column went from green and yellow to red, and so on and so on. And we have an example in the back that you folks can look at on poster boards if you want to keep looking at the comparison to understand the difference. Again, the left is before public input of the survey, and the right is after. So this just reinforces that your votes made a change in the scoring. So these are the results of the top three, which was Central Maui Landfill, the Waiikuli parcel, and the Crater Village. So after taking into the weighted matrix, the weighted criteria from the survey, Waiikuli came in third, Crater Village came in second, and the Central Maui Landfill came in first. So that would be the location of the final site for the debris. This is a slide going back to January 31st, when we first brought out the three options. This is the layout of the Central Maui landfill. If you remember, we had advantages and disadvantages listed for all the three different sites. I just wanted to revisit the advantages of the Central Maui, which has been determined to be the permanent disposal site. Advantages is undeveloped land. It was already planned for future landfill. It's away from residential sites, away from hospitals, away from schools. It's pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Another key criteria is it's below the UIC line. So if you remember, the UIC line is the line that distinguishes drinking water and non-drinking water. If you're below that line, you're not affecting drinking water, which is the case here. Disadvantages. It is far from the TDS. We all knew that going in. It's 20 plus miles, traffic impacts related to the distance. Again, going back to the survey, traffic impacts, roadway, safety conditions were ranked lower on the survey. But it doesn't mean that we can disregard this. We have to think about the traffic impacts. This is another slide from our January 31st where we showed the timeline, how we plan to hit different milestones in the process of selecting the final site. In the last meeting with Deputy Director Schmidt, we checked off all the way to February 21st, which was the community where we shared the results of the survey. Going back to December 31st, we announced that our target date to find a final site was March 1st. I'm happy to say that our team worked very hard and we beat that, and we are bringing you the results here tonight. Now the next steps, now that we distinguish which is going to be the permanent site, we need to finalize, and I say we, meaning the county, our federal state partners, but mainly the county. We need to finalize land acquisition for the Central Maui landfill expansion. This is something that we were going to do anyway. We have capacity issues at the Central Maui landfill. We're already in the process of acquiring land for expansion. This is just continuing that land acquisition. The second bullet, start the design and permitting of the PDS, the permanent disposal site. Number 3 bullet, we will continue to work with our federal and state partners to address and mitigate the traffic concerns. We all know we got to control the speeding. We know the volume. We've been saying 40,000 truckloads, right? All that's going to go to Central Maui landfill from Olowalu. Our team is dedicated to work with our federal and state partners to start mitigating that, thinking about how we can make it safer once we start transporting this debris. And the last bullet point, this is not going to be cheap. We all knew that. We need to continue to work for funding to fund this final site. That's it for our presentation, my presentation. Thank you, everybody. Oh, sure. So Mayor brought up a good point. When we looked at the 3 sites, we already was being proactive and thinking about, okay, what happens if this one site gets chosen? We didn't know the results. What happens if Waikuli? What happens if Crater Village? We already started thinking about the traffic impacts. So now that we know the final site is going to be at Central Maui, our team has already looked at utilizing roads to keep the traffic off of the main thoroughfare. So I give a lot of credit to John Smith from Public Works Highways. He took it upon himself to investigate the routes, what best to be done to get the traffic off of the roads. So we are looking at using old cane haul roads as much as possible to keep it off the highway. We have a plan right now to utilize a roadway going through old cane land that connects Kuihilani to Central Maui landfill and avoiding Kahului. Going across the Pali, obviously we can't avoid that. But if we can mitigate the traffic once we get into Kahului, that's a huge improvement on traffic impact. So we're working on that right now. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, we are going to take questions, but I have 3 things that I was reminded to say. One is the slides. I saw some of you squinting. So I just want to tell you that these slides show up clearly by themselves on the recorded versions that you'll see on our Facebook page. Akaku is also broadcasting it live, and they are rerunning it and rebroadcasting it. So you can see those slides as well. They'll come up just by themselves. And if you take a look to my left, your right, or straight ahead, you'll see all the poster boards up there. Those are the displays that we had last week that highlight the results of the community survey. The other 2 announcements is tonight there is night construction going on by Keawe Street. So just please, a reminder, drive carefully, as we said. Be careful, mindful of our crews out there. And also to my right on this side, you see a little white table. There's a interfaith group. They are providing a support service for you. They'll be there if you would like to connect in fellowship with them. So right after the meeting and following our question and answer session, our folks will be here hanging around as we always do, including a team over at the post-it boards to help with any questions. So we have one mic running through tonight. Raise your hand, we'll call you, and then we'll keep moving on through. NT over here, wait, go ahead. Yeah, right there, and then Shannon, NT right here, and then 2 here, and then right there. Okay, go ahead now.
Aloha. I just wanted to ask, is it possible that they can do the debris removal at night? Since they're already doing some night work on Kiavi Street. I just talking about traffic. I mean, throw up a bunch of lights and keep moving.
All right, we'll let Army Corps respond.
Thank you for your question. At this time, we're not planning on doing night debris removal downtown, from the downtown area. We're already working our crews, 12 hours a day or so, 7 days a week, in some cases, and I don't think we were able to push them any further to do. Yeah, I'll defer to another expert. At this stage, we're not. I understand if we could do it at night, there would be less, sort of public traffic on the highways, and it would seem safer. There are challenges to doing night work on highways when you have limited to no visibility, and so we're talking about triaxle trucks, tight streets downtown in Lahaina. It doesn't necessarily support our safety plan, and really we are committed to doing this efficiently and safely, and that we're not gonna sacrifice the safety, acknowledging that it is an inconvenience for the traffic. Thank you.
So my question is for you as well. Last week I talked to Colonel Curry. I spoke to him privately because it was like our personal issue, but what I wanted to share is that on February 12th, my mom got a call that said, hey, we're going to remove your tree in 2 weeks. And then I came home and I called and I said, how come you guys didn't take the tree? Oh, well, we found asbestos. I'm like, what? What do you mean asbestos? The EPA left in October. What happened? Well, and you guys were good. I contacted the Army Corps, and they said that what they found is that there was tile that had asbestos, and the EPA wasn't going to pick that up. It was only going to pick up the big stuff. And then I was told by your people as well, is that there's 30 of you guys, plus us at least, that even if you have your right of entry done, you're not going to be cleaned out until they get the asbestos. And when I talked to them on Friday or Saturday, she said, number one, they don't know when we're going to get a contract to get that asbestos removed. And so we have no idea when the debris from our property will be removed. So I wanted to bring it up because there's got to be other people in the same position that's just waiting for you guys to call and say, oh yeah, come take our stuff. But you're not going to get a call. And who knows when we're going to get a call. So I'm bringing this up for everybody's benefit.
Well, I appreciate the question. I'm not familiar with your specific circumstances, but I'm happy to talk to you afterwards, get your property information, and we'll look in the system and see if what the challenges are.
The problem I see, to be honest with you, is that if I hadn't called you guys, we would have never known this. So there's a gap in the communication where And I have to say, kudos to you guys, because when I called, they were very, very helpful. So I'm really, impressed with that. But there's no, like, the EPA left in October. It's February, and almost POW. So, that's like ridiculous that we never knew that there needed to be asbestos removed from our property before we could do anything else. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, if that, I'm going to pass it over to the chemist.
Hi, I'm Corey Koger. I'm a debris subject matter expert. And so, yeah, we're aware of the problem and we're modifying the contract as we speak to go out and get the asbestos that was outside of the scope and was left erroneously. So we will be handling that for you. You'll get a call before we come out to remove the debris.
And then once that happens, they'll be back on the runway for debris removal. Yeah, okay.
All right, we're gonna kupuna uncle. Yeah, the microphone behind you. Yeah, and then when you power, go give them back to her. Okay.
Thank you. When they're cleaning up, do they do the ones that registered first, or are they going to different sections as the calls come in?
That's a great question. So based on the first 268 ROEs that were submitted, right, we used those to get the initial contract for residential debris clearance started. So those were, excuse me, those were prioritized in the first batch. We've since received another 1,115, I think. Don't hold me to the exact number. ROEs, which have been added to the runways. Now, we have 15 crews on average working every day. And in order to space out the crews and not have them on top of each other, they each have a runway, which is essentially a list of properties with the sort of the next one up, kind of it's the batting order if you're a baseball player.
So they're doing that as calls coming in, or random?
No, we have it based on, so the first 268 are in the top of the queue of those runways. The remaining 1,100 or so are distributed across there. And we are prioritizing homes that are, for clearance, that are near property structures that are intact, right? So that we can so if we just remove one or two properties of debris, we can then reopen larger sections of the community for residents whose houses are still standing for them to return to those. And then,
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to express gratitude and say that I'm heartened that the voices of the people were taken into weighty consideration in this decision. I'm also curious and hopeful that we will be looking into the bioremediation possibilities like pyrolysis and other things, especially now that they'll all be in the same site, maybe a facility to bioremediate that waste could happen in the future, and I hope we're still thinking about that. So I'm wondering if that's still on the table. And I'm also wondering if, as we consider the transportation, and I understand you're looking into safety as far as light and daytime, but are we also going to consider making sure that the debris as it's transported isn't escaping the trucks? Because we've seen some drone footage about it being dumped into Oluwalu and kind of just breaking open and blowing everywhere, and that was kind of a concern because I think a lot of people felt that the burritos were more secure than that. So maybe that's more than one question, sorry.
Okay, so we continue to safely remove debris, ash debris, and recyclables from the residential properties and soon the commercial properties in Lahaina. And we safely transport that, as you stated, in this burrito wrap. Now, when the trucks do empty the contents of the burrito into the temporary disposal site, the burrito may, may open, right? What I want to reassure everyone is that throughout the entire process, from as it exists right now, right, with the sites, to with the removal, we have sprayed and wet the material to do dust mitigation, and we continue to do that all the way through until it leaves the truck and enters the temporary disposal site, in which case it is then re-wetted before it is handled, so that there is no dust, or there's no dust, mitigation, or no dust that enters the air, and it all gets compacted into the landfill. Now we did, the temporary disposal site. Now we did yesterday close the temporary disposal site for the day because we had sustained winds over 35 miles an hour. And so we are taking the precautions. So we wet the material again, so that it wouldn't blow. And then we closed the facility. We weren't taking any new material because we are concerned about air quality, and we don't want any of the material to become airborne. So I don't know if that answers your question, but we are taking great strides to keep the air quality high.
Aloha, and thank you for all that you've done and are doing. I'm hoping that possibly you folks could drive the big trucks to the central landfill at night when there's less wind, less traffic, and instead of continuing to spend so much money in Olowalu, folks could be doing it right now as we speak, only do it at night and dump it there. Question number 2 is, today was the 4th time I've been able to come back to Lahaina, but I had planted 10 years ago 3 medicinal native trees from the botanical garden. They're from Hawaii, they are Hawaii, and with the Army Corps of Engineers coming, I understood that they were going to swoop through and take out trees that, of course, are dangerous and could fall and hurt people, etc. I went to the property. I'm not a landowner. I was a renter, but the trees that I planted are flourishing. They're wonderful, and most indigenous plants are doing quite well, like our banyan tree and most coconut trees. All the junk foliage that is brought in for deco, got to stop doing that, bring all that junk kind of stuff in. But today I went over there and because I didn't know the protocol, I understood there were markings and banners and tags and whatnot, and I put little signs saying medicinal indigenous trees, please do not destroy, and I just posted them inside the plant so they could see, kind of like the tagging. Is that possible that they could be, transplanted, whatever, not just destroyed?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, we will certainly look into that. If you could see one of the folks behind here afterwards in red, just let them know the address of it, and we'll look at it. One of the challenges that we are concerned about trees that may have been damaged during the fire, and as a public safety risk for them to, if they don't come back to life, if they don't rejuvenate, and then they're a fall hazard, and so we're very, obviously we're very sensitive to that. We don't want to do public harm. We don't want to defer public harm by not removing them. But we'll certainly look into your specific circumstance, and maybe there's something we can do. And then, so the night driving. So again, we are not putting anything from Lahaina into the Central Maui landfill. Now, I know tonight you heard that the county has chosen the Central Maui, it's the same location as the Central Maui landfill to put as the permanent disposal site. But at this point, the Central Maui landfill, as we know it today, does not have the storage space for the debris from Lahaina. So all the debris from Lahaina will continue permanent site will be ready to receive material, and at which time this is a conditions-based decision. You know, if we are still removing debris from Lahaina when the new facility is open and certified and ready to receive material, then we will most certainly, you know, switch to that site. But we won't do that until the county gives us the go-ahead that the new facility is ready. Well, man, we finished last month. Actually, January we finished the Kula site, so that there's no more debris from Kula going into the Central Maui site. So, and there's not enough space to put all the debris from Lahaina. I understand the concerns, and I understand the night operations. But at this point, we're doing daytime operations, and we're moving it into the temporary disposal site. So.
All right. At this point, thank you for your question. We are having people online and on Aqua Cruz saying they cannot hear the questions. So we're going to ask you, if you're going to ask a question, hold the microphone right at you, and no need to shout, but make like you're talking to your kids or something. Like determined to people going to hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So a few topics regarding housing. I was hoping Red Cross, FEMA, and the task force would be here, but if they are not able to answer tonight, or anyone's not able to answer tonight, maybe the next meeting. I think it's very important for housing. For the NCS, I'm hoping to get a timeline on when that's going to last too. There's an April 1st date that's being put out there. The second part is also there's been consolidating and movement with the residents, and I just want to see if anybody could speak to that. And also, if we could have a task force for Red Cross, if not on a daily basis, at least a few times a week to answer like escalated questions. For FEMA, there's an issue with the direct leasing background check that is very timely. We really need to try to expedite that. And for the task force, if they can have the presentation they offer to WAM the next week, that would be super helpful for housing.
You must have some pixie dust, because we were going to announce at the end of this meeting that next week's community meeting here, March 6th, we are going to focus on housing and give a status update on the housing plans and where we're going, including the information that we've been working on and presenting to our state policymakers. So March 6th, next week, tonight, we want to focus on the selection of the permanent debris site, disposal site. Next week, we'll be focusing on housing. So see how fast you ask, and we'll be here. Mahalo. Okay, raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, great, go ahead.
It's more of a sharing of gratitude. I came ready with posters and flyers, ready to speak up for my students one last time. And
could you read your sign for those on Akaku and online can't see it?
Well, the back says Lahaina Teachers for Keiki. And the front says, what are our priorities? The health of the Keiki and ocean, or money and short-term traffic concerns? And I'm just so grateful that the community stood up and made that clear, and that you took it and decided to keep it away from our Keiki and oceans and waterline. Thank you so, so much.
Mahalo. Questions? Shannon, right there, the gentleman in the green. Oh, she's behind the gentleman in the green, sorry. Oh.
Aloha, Mai. Mine's more of a, I think I know this, but I need clarification from USA's. Is it true that if folks would like we're getting a lot of questions about bioremediation, and I just want to confirm that if folks would like their trees on their property chipped and kept on their property, they can request that from Army Corps?
That's a good question. I'm getting the thumbs up from my team, so yes, that is possible.
I just wanted to clarify for everyone, this has been a bioremediation conversation and wood chips are very important for bioremediation. So for those of you who keep asking, it is smart for you to contact Army Corps and ask for them to do this. So I just want to.
Great, thank you. Again, raise your hand. We've been at this for a couple of hours tonight with a couple of hundred of you and many joining us live on Akaku and live streaming on our social media page. So please raise your hand here if you have a question. Gentleman on the end in the gray shirt. Thank you.
Might be a question or a suggestion. I was in Honolulu doing APEC, and they turned Kalakaua into a contraflow lane with shielding on one side of the road. Granted, I think traffic is bad during the morning and Pauhana traffic. Is there talks between state or county DOT to mitigate that traffic flow, meaning turning Honapi'ilani into a contraflow, possibly during that morning and Pauhana time, and or leaving it up all the time and just using it as a Kahului bound way out, 2 lanes, one for trucks, one for local, and then everybody else coming into Lahaina on the bypass?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, we are looking at that. Like I mentioned earlier, we're not yet in the full swing of how many trucks are going to be going through the closed section of Ho'opilani Highway. So as that ramps up over the coming weeks, we're going to get a better sense of what we need to manage to allow that public traffic and the construction traffic to coexist without creating a bigger problem for us to deal with. So thank you.
Thank you for the question. And I must have not learned how to tell time well. Someone was signaling me, telling me it's not 2 hours. But anyone else want to ask a question? I know people are like 2 hours. Just raise your hand. And again, we are not going anywhere. Our team will be here, happy to answer any questions. Sir, in the hat.
I got a question about right of entry. So for the properties that have already been cleared and they've been given right of entry, what is the process for getting permits for people that can start rebuilding? I saw some reports of a new permitting department being set up for Lahaina. Is that still in the works? I know the mayor was working on that.
Yeah, thank you. So we did have the ordinance to amend those emergency permitting provisions passed out of committee, and I believe it's anticipated adoption end of March. So by April, that'll be in effect. We also have our vendor who's going to support us in focusing just on the Lahaina permitting. So that's in contract right now. So tentatively, barring any setbacks, later part of April, we expect to be operational and be able to process those expedited permits with the vendor and under the new system for everybody. Thank you.
This has to do with transportation. It seems like when there's a serious accident on the poly, that the police sometimes keep the place closed for 4 hours. Is there a way that we can improve the way that we handle accidents and the way we handle broken down vehicles so that we don't have 4-hour stops, because that's really going to be a catastrophe. I know that for a fact because I almost lost a loved one on a stalled ambulance. Fortunately, went around the backside. But the other thought that I have is if there are, it seems to me there's, when there's an accident, even if it isn't fatal, there needs to be some place to get the cars off the road. Is it possible to look at the highway and put a few thousand feet of side road, if you will, shoulder? Could we enlarge the shoulders a few places for those accidents? Because you're going to regret a serious accident.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I have to have police and or fire follow up because they manage those incidents. But what I understand, depending on the severity of the incident, and unfortunately when they're fatal, that forensic investigation can take a long time. And so I'd have to bring them for a later meeting to speak to if there's, changes to their operation they can look at to make it more timely to get those things reopened. Shoulder areas, as you know, the poly is kind of tough to blow open a shoulder on the poly. But I think that's something that DOT can look at for those other areas as well.
And sir, we will get a little bit more clarity from the Maui Police Department. Raise your hand. Okay. Mikey.
This is for Jordan as well. Can you go over again what exactly needs to happen for you to open HP Highway? Like, what is the plan of attack? And maybe if you have a high level ETA of when you think you can get that open.
Ooh, put me on the spot. So yes, like I mentioned, we don't have a good handle on the dynamic yet because we're not full operation just yet. So as we get all the crews that are planned in motion, we can kind of better assess, where our conflict points are going to be and how difficult it's going to be to manage. My hope is, this is hope again, late summer, we'll have a best sense to see how close we are to being able to, provide some kind of relief. But again, that's just my hope. It's going to be very contingent on how things go as all those contractors get into place, how quickly they can move, and all those kind of dynamics at play to see how soon we can at least get some capacity back on the highway to help alleviate this congestion.
I just wanted to add something to that, Mikey, that Honoapi'ilani is still available as an emergency out of Lahaina. So even though it's closed right now to traffic, it's in case of an emergency that is something that we have already decided would happen. So if we had to open it up, it would be open for people. So right now, although it's not being used as traffic as you've been used to, we recognize that that's an important artery in and out of Lahaina should that become necessary. And I know you folks probably feel it is necessary because I hear it from Laurie DeGama every week. Let me know, traffic. I mean, not every week, maybe 3 times a week. So send me a picture to let me see, because she doesn't think I believe her. So she'll send me a picture saying, look, this is the traffic I'm in right now. So we know how bad it is, and it's not fair, you guys. Everything that's happening to you folks out here is not fair, okay? We're going to try to move as quickly as we can, as safely as we can for the benefit of everybody. But just know, we know that this is a really bad, horrible situation for everybody. But again, in case of emergency, that highway is available to be open, just so you guys know. Yeah, I gotta just say one thing about the night work suggestion. It's not that we hadn't thought about it, but as they're cleaning lots, it's safer for them to do it during sunlight when they can see everything that's happening on those lots, as opposed to dealing with a light that you bring in that you're gonna have to move, that you're gonna have to position with 30 crews working at the same time. It's not ideal. We do it at nighttime. We run other risks. So, I mean, we're obviously asking you guys to bear with us. We just revealed the final site tonight. So already everyone is in tune with all the possibilities that are going to happen. We anticipated that. We thought about using the Cane Hall, the Tanahala roads, right? We're trying to figure out every way we can to minimize that. But just going straight to nighttime crews doing it. You see a lot of nighttime work on roads, like right now by Safeway. And I think EPA is about 75% complete with their project that they're working on. But that's safer for them to do that because there's less traffic on the road. That's different from cleaning out all of these neighborhoods at night without the benefit of light. So it's much safer for the crews to work during the day. And right now we have 15 crews. We're anticipating 30 crews at max, 30. We'll try to figure out. Been some great suggestions. We know there's going to be more. And we're very open. We're going to work this out together. Just keep giving us those good suggestions. Thank you.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I have 2 questions. One of them is when you're reporting about working at night, could it be suggested you do clean up during the day, prep your trucks, get the trucks ready, at night you haul? during the day, you just clean up all the lots, get the trucks in line to deliver. Suggest.
Thank you, ma'am, for your question. Again, I feel the angst and the concern over traffic. We run these trucks multiple times a day from the site, so we don't have enough trucks where we could load 10 trucks and just have them sit idle during the day and then drive them at night to the site. So as soon as one truck is full, it's heading out to the site, it's dropping off its burrito, and it's coming back to start working on the next burrito. And that happens, like I said, 10 to 12 hours a day, every day of the week, 7 days a week. It's not really efficient. It wouldn't be efficient to try to load a bunch of trucks and just have them sit idle and then ship them out at night. I acknowledge, though, that in a perfect world that would reduce some of the congestion on the highways, but it would slow down this operation. And really, we're trying to get this done as efficiently and as safely as we can, so that the citizens of Lahaina can rebuild. And I guarantee you, I've been out to some of these lots. When you see the lot that is cleared and essentially the ROE has been turned back over to the county, I mean, it brings us, every person's out there, it brings a smile to their face, right? The lot is like, the lot's saying, please rebuild on me. That's what it's saying. I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek, but I think we want to get that for every resident of Lahaina. We want that smile where you say, gosh, I went through great tragedy, but I now have a piece of property that is ready for my future home. And I can rebuild Lahaina to its greatness. Out of the ashes, the phoenix will rise. So that's what we want. And I don't want to slow it down by being less efficient with how we manage trucks. So.
Okay, and sorry, I had another one. So the other thing is the burritos, or how long are you guys going to leave it there up in Oluwalu when it's ready to remove? You're taking all of that out and taking it to Omaopio, correct?
So that's a good question. So the question, if you didn't hear it, was, how long are the burritos going to stay in the temporary disposal site? And the answer to that question is until the conditions are set in the permanent disposal site such that we can start to remove material from the burritos from the temporary site and move them to the permanent site. But we can't move the first load out of Oluwalu into its permanent site until the permanent site is ready to receive it. And that's a conditions-based decision, and we're working closely with the county as you heard tonight, as they start to develop this permanent disposal site. But I assure you, when it's all said and done, we will return Oluwalu to its original condition. So the temporary disposal site will come out with all of the burritos. They'll all be placed in the permanent disposal site. We will remove the liner and we will regrade that property so that it looks like it did before we started.
Thank you. Another question. Sorry, one more.
Okay, and then we're going to go to Kupuna
I
in
just
the
have
front.
one more, the tourists. Can we kind of alleviate some kind of control, like the traffic? Because can we suggest to them or, control the visitors coming into Lahaina, because there's so much traffic, not only workers, everybody's coming and going. First thing in the morning, there's traffic coming in to Lahaina and traffic going out. Is there some kind of control we can put on the cap? Like, there's so much visitors here in Lahaina, put a cap on how many comes into Lahaina, because there's so much cars, and we need to have that alleviate some of the local traveling and having our debris removed from Lahaina. Thank you.
Mayor is going to attempt, and then after Kai, Uncle here in the front row.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that is when we were dealing with the issue of Hana, when there was so much traffic going into East Maui, one of the suggestions was to have locals only traffic hours, certain times of the day, especially when people come out of East Maui for work. I suppose that's the only thing I can think of. I'm not exactly sure how we decide who gets to drive on the road or who doesn't get to drive on the road, or how we manage that. But I would say that was probably the only thing, is if we set up some sort of checkpoint and said, you got to show proof that you're a resident to drive in during hours of 6 and 8. I'm open to suggestions. I know if you guys can think of any, please email them to Mahina. Email them to Mahina. And
that's spelled mayor's.office at Maui County. I'm just kidding.
Go ahead, Kai.
Kai?
It's a long question, but just for maybe put people's minds and hearts to rest. I drive through the burn zone every day through Waikuli. I've been down by Howler Camp area, and we see the guys cleaning up, and you see the big machines going in there. But what people don't see is guys with their gloves and buckets on their knees picking up small stuff that the machines cannot get. These guys in there, I know a lot of them personally. They're working hard for real for you folks. It's not just one job, and I gotta say that. If they're in your area and you think decided to clean up around your area, I go make them food. We did that one day, brought them food. They were so happy and appreciate so much, because a lot of times they get these bad, people say stupid shit sometimes, and it goes against them. But if they was there and you've seen these people, you really appreciate these guys. And the last thing is, feels so good to be heard, no? I think this is the way we gotta go together between the government and the community. We can move a lot faster and get a lot farther. Tonight I go home, I'm gonna sleep. Usually I go home and it's in my mind, it's racing. I go home maybe sometimes sour. I gotta beat my cat. Nah, I love my cat, beat my cat. but it just feels real good. And I think hopefully we can continue this until we fall. Thank you.
Okay, we have two kupuna in the front, Uncle and then Auntie. Uncle first, he had the hand up. Right there.
Thank you. I was a truck driver, retired. It's not easy to drive those trucks and people cutting in front of you to get out of the way or slow you down, and you trying to do your job. I ended up, a lot of time, I hired somebody to haul the material I needed for my construction work. It was cheaper. Instead of me going on the road, walking through the traffic, grabbing the tourist by the neck, and telling them guys, move, don't stop on the road. You're carrying like 14 tons on your truck, and you're trying to stop that thing in 50 feet, no way you're gonna stop. So you gotta go below the traffic, the speed limit, 35, and take forever to come back to Lahaina. If you work for somebody, it's okay, because that guy paying you. I gotta get my load on a job so I can keep my man working. So it's not easy. And the nighttime thing is, they become careless. No need cover, nobody can see, it's dark. No, I think you guys doing the right thing. Sun up to sundown. It's gonna get better during the summer. You can work, I guarantee you can work till 8 o'clock before it gets dark. Right now, no. 5:30, put everything away, the day is over. So you gotta get up early, and that's what the workers gotta do, get up early and start hitting the road for how many hours? A lucky if you can get a nice couple hours of overtime. But if you work round the clock, it's going to cost you more because I don't know if they're going to charge you per load or by the hour. So different ways. So the people just gotta understand. This thing is coming after me, and right behind you, you don't see the driver, you only see the hood of the truck. So be patient. This thing is not gonna last forever. We're not gonna last forever. So be patient. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle. Well said. Couple of things. What's the status of the safe water in Waikuli? We haven't heard anything for weeks. Can that be on the agenda? Or I think right here, EPA is here and able to help.
Yes, hi. My name is Carl Banks. I'm the incident commander for the ESF3 response. Concerning Waiakuli, my colleague Sebastian Rodriguez, who is with EPA's recovery team, can best answer that question.
Great. Thank you very much, Carl. So I'm really excited to share that EPA has received an updated mission assignment from FEMA. We have about $1 million that we are putting out on a contract with our Office of Drinking Water to design, do the planning and design for the cesspool conversion. So we're going through the contracting process now, but we're really excited to share that we're working on it. And it's it is, EPA Region 9 management is aware of how high a priority it is for the community. We have a dedicated staff person on the project. It's a very high priority, and we're going to see it through as fast as we can.
Thank you, EPA. It doesn't answer my question.
Yes, I did want to make sure we got to drinking water. Just wanted to allow Sebastian to make that announcement. So with regard to drinking water, the sampling of the hydrants is proceeding, and we're preparing to begin doing testing on all of these service laterals. These are the lines from the main pipe to the meter box to determine whether they were contaminated as a result of the fires. If we find contaminants in those samples, those lines will be cut and capped in order to protect the system from those contaminants, and so that the rest of that area could be eventually cleared. We don't do that clearance. We do not remove the advisories for different areas. That is the County of Maui Department of Water Supply. But our work is helping to move that along as quickly as possible. Does that answer your question? No. Let me try again.
No, I'm living in my house, okay? And they said it's water advisory. My brother doesn't have a house, but he has safe water. Figure that out.
So you're still in an area where the advisory is do not drink your water. Right. So the process I described of sampling the main lines and then sampling the laterals and then cutting the laterals that are contaminated all has to occur before water in your area can be deemed safe to drink.
But it's been 6 months. How long more do you have to wait?
I understand. The number of service laterals we have to sample is around 1,700. From those, something around 15 to 40% will probably be contaminated, and we will have to cut and cap those lines.
Because it's only our zone is the last. Maybe the part of Lahaina is fine.
The zones that were able to be cleared by the county were done so as soon as possible. So I hear that you are in an unlucky spot in Lahaina, and that you may have to wait longer. And I'm so sorry that that's the reality.
And another thing, thank you for you. Another thing, I have a house. My neighbors don't have any houses, but there's only 2 properties that got cleared on my street.
Yes, we had this conversation last week. I remember.
Yeah, you didn't get back.
I didn't get back to you. So at the end of this, if you could just let us know your house number, we can look up and see, what the status is. Again, we are trying to prioritize homes that are, or debris removal sites that are near existing homes that are sort of ready to be reoccupied. Part of it was, as I said, the initial 268 ROEs. Those got the highest priority because they were first in line, and that was what the contract was set off of. And when we're building the runways with the additional 1,100, I don't know where your specific home is on that list.
Auntie, hang on.
There's other people that got their ROE done the same time as my son, but they got their property cleaned, but not my son.
We can look up your specific one. I would, if other homes, if everyone turned it in at the same time or about the same time, and other homes have had their debris removed, I don't want to promise anything, but I would make a good assumption that home is close to being on the top of the list. But again, we can look and see where it is, especially given the fact that the other homes around it are ready to be reoccupied or ready to be reoccupied. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Auntie. Auntie, don't leave tonight unless all these uniform guys come and see you, okay? All right, Shannon? Go ahead, Kaliko.
Aloha, this question is for the mayor. And this is from his oldest son, Jeremy De Los Reyes. And yes, we are all siblings. We all love the mayor. So Mayor, we need to change the use of gravel for soil stabilization after properties are seen cleared. The cost for removal will solely be at the owner's expense, and we cannot use it for any uses, and it will cause an extra cost for property owners wanting to use the yard space.
So I got the exact same email from Jeremy yesterday. Can I toss this to Army Corps? The question is, can they use soil tack on the completed lots instead of gravel? I told them the gravel was there to keep the soil from running off of the land or off of the lots. So that's why I believe they went with gravel, but does somebody have a different or better answer?
Mayor, thank you for that. I can defer to my team. I know we were planning on using gravel in Lahaina. I know in Kula they used, they hydro-seeded in Kula. Again, all for the same purpose, right? Is that when you take that earth and concrete off of your lot, and you have sort of loose soil, it is susceptible to rainwater and to runoff. And we're really trying to preserve those lots and not have all of that water and dirt run into the sewers and in the streets. So I think the answer is yes, that you can request a soil tack versus or hydroseeding versus the gravel. I got the thumbs up. No, I got that wrong. Soil tack or no?
Looks like the mic is going to go to Dr.
We're gonna ask Corey.
Corey, come in the middle a little.
I will.
The camera keeps following Colonel.
Hello again. The placement of gravel or cinder for erosion control was not a core requirement that came from Maui County and the Department of Health. There's a reason that we were requested to put that material. There's also a proposal in place to use material that might be suitable for rebuild, but we haven't got that in place yet. So we are hearing that concern, and we're trying to change that paradigm so that if we place that material, we can't test it and we can't help you rebuild, but that material might be able to be built on, if that makes any sense. Hydroseed does not work in dry environments. As you know, Lahaina has a very dry, sunny climate. So if we hydroseed, there won't be any water to keep it wet. It will just dry up and blow off, and then you don't have any erosion control.
Thank you, Corey.
So clearly, going back to my professor days, I'm failing, or maybe I'm a high C on answering these questions. But I promise by next week I'll be in the B range. I'll be in the B range. I got a great team. They're going to prepare me for all of these questions. But please keep them coming.
For those of you who cannot see, there's a team of Army Corps folks in the bleachers trying to give Colonel signals like, no, yes, got it. Good job. I see a question up there, sir. Go ahead.
Hello. I just was following up on that answer. I mean, the question I asked last week about this background checks. I know Todd helped me. Thanks, Todd. But I'd like to be where everybody can hear what the answer is. So with that part on the background check, why is it taking so long? It's shouldn't. And I was told it was criminal, but now it's becoming credit, and now they're asking for Social Security, which I thought they would have all that information, which some of us not comfortable with sharing it with the world. Because they're asking us to send them back by email, which is kind of like weird. So if next week, maybe we can get an answer.
Yeah, next week, our focus will be housing. Oh, so someone. Oh, well, look at that, a FEMA guy. Come on over.
We've had a pretty good experience with background checks. Unfortunately, we're having a bad experience with delays. So in the last week, I probably heard from 8 different households who are having trouble. Sometimes they got the address of where they're proposed to stay and then have not heard for 3 weeks or a month. Sometimes it's background checks. Sometimes it's inspections. So it's an individual case issue. And if you come back and speak to us in the back of the room here, we'll actually look up your case or have it looked into, and they'll contact you. But it's very individual. And as you said, we'll be here next week. We've been here for about 6 months, and we'll be here longer too.
Thank you. Question here, followed by gentleman in the back, and then back down to the front row. Mikey. We keep saying Mikey's name just because it's a small town, so everybody knows Mikey comes to every meeting now.
Thank you very much. FEMA, don't leave, please. This question is for you. I just wanted to follow up because he did have a concern about the background checks turning into a credit check. And initially you had said, or not you personally, but FEMA had said there's no need for a credit check because FEMA is the one on the hook to be paying. So they shouldn't be asking for credit checks from the individuals living in there. Is that still the case?
FEMA does not require a credit check and for occupancy because you're right. The lessee-lessor relationship and the landlord-owner or the landlord-tenant relationship does not exist with the individuals that we're placing into those properties. So unless they're doing a credit check under some other provision that allows them legally to do a credit check, it's not appropriate. They can only do a criminal background check for a FEMA lessee or for a FEMA tenant in our direct lease program.
Sir, go ahead.
Hi, I was wondering if we could have a meeting like this that's meant specifically for homeowners and the challenges that we're facing as far as rebuilding. I mean, I don't even have the capacity to worry about traffic. That's one of my least concerns. So I don't want to belittle other people's problems or issues, but I'm worried about losing my home, about paying mortgage and rent, and I'm worried about how the permitting process goes. And there's so much that we need to discuss where one question at a time isn't really getting us anywhere. And it's 6 months later, and I know this is a massive ordeal, but like most of our lots are exactly the same they were on August 9th. So we're still in the same spot. We have no more hope of moving forward and big rebuilding until things start happening, but we don't really know what's going to happen next, and we don't know how permitting and all this stuff.
So the answer to that is yes. If you can see me afterwards, let's talk about what those things that we can help cover and make sure it's going to meet the needs and expectations of homeowners. So let's talk right after. Okay. We're still doing hand raising. Oh, okay. Uncle in the front, followed by gentleman in the blue hat, gentleman in the other hat. Thank you.
Thank you. My team concerns the ongoing construction
on Calvary Road as you're coming down off the bypass and coming out of the bypass and going down towards Safeway area. You know, people come down that hill, they kiss your ass, yeah, come down. But right now, there's a construction going on and they've narrowed the road. And when they narrowed the road, there's a left turn towards Island Grocery or that service station area, and there's a medium right after that. That is very confusing after sunset, and I've experienced it because we were coming into Lahaina after sunset and to come to a meeting here, and my wife, because people were kissing her ass, she never kind of slowed down to the point where she could just stop. So there's an arrow, left turn arrow, that's turning to the Island Grocery area. So there's no indication when it's a little dark to say that no left turn on oncoming traffic, or there's a medium right in the way. So when she made a left turn thinking that she was going to crash into the barricades because it was pretty narrow. So she made a left, but at that time she made a left, had cars coming up because there's a one-way up towards the bypass. So she made a hard right back, right on a medium, and we flew in the air. Then about a week later, we came into Lahaina during the day, and I saw hubcaps on the side of the medium. So is there a possible way to enlighten the drivers? Slowing down is okay too, but you know, with the cars kissing your ass behind, you know, a lot of pressure coming down that hill. So I don't think we're the only ones that, you know, was affected or being affected by it. I don't know how long this project would be, so I just want to bring it up in case to prevent, you know, more like what happened to us.
Thank you. Jordan?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So
Shannon?
we're getting the traffic signal for over there. We're just waiting for the equipment to come in, so that'll help a little. But we can look at adding more either reflectors or stuff to help identify those curbs. As far as that project, they're putting in the electrical and sidewalk for apartments that are being built up the road. We'll get you an ETA and what that build out looks like. But yeah, hopefully not too much longer with that situation going on over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Sir in the hat, followed by the other gentleman in the hat, and then back to you. We just want to give other people who haven't asked questions first chance, so please go ahead, sir.
I have a question for the mayor. I heard last week he mentioned something about land swap for people that live in a mill camp, which is most of the people that died. And I just want clarification if they will move people from that subdivision or redo that subdivision.
So I'm gonna slightly update what I told you last week because I got more information today. I want you to know this is a really fluid situation about what's happening on the rebuild. So the fire department has identified certain streets and areas in Lahaina that are difficult for them to get through, either an ambulance or a fire truck. And so, I mean, I don't know how the town feels because we haven't, put this out to everybody yet, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of feedback. Is should we build it back exactly the same way, or should we make the changes now that there's an opportunity? I understand why it wasn't done before, but the question is, what should we do now? So there's a minimum width of 20 feet that the roadway has to be. That's by law, by ordinance, by charter. I don't know exactly, but that's what I'm told. It's 20 feet from curb to curb. Now that assumes that no one's going to do street parking, right? So if you keep it 2 lanes and cars can go up and down, then that should be enough. But practically speaking, people park on the street. Even when it says no street parking. Everybody knows when you see that sign, you know, oh, they're talking to somebody else. They're not talking about me. They're talking about somebody else cannot park on the street. And so people park their cars there, right? And everybody knows multiple families and homes, lots of cars. So what do? Do we enforce the no parking? Do we widen the streets? Do we go to one-way streets? Do we go to parking only on one side of the road? I mean, there are lots of different methods, but just for you to think about and consider, because I know if I ask 5 of you, I'm going to get 5 different answers, right? Because we all have an opinion about how that might work best. But as far as land swapping, I think, I don't want to use the word eminent domain, condemnation, and take somebody's property. I don't want to do that. What I'd rather is that we have a negotiation and somebody says, I don't want to live in this particular area or this situation. So yeah, if you offer me something else, I would swap with you, I would trade. So that involves a third party. Either the state has their land or commitment schools has their land or the private landowners. So that's why it's not a simple yes or no. It's going to involve having that exchange. But I think the real point of this conversation is how do you folks want the town built back? And I'm talking about those dangerous areas. I'm not talking about every place in Lahaina. The places that at least the fire department has identified, and they think it would be difficult to get emergency vehicles in and out of that neighborhood should you need them. I don't have to tell you folks that live in these neighborhoods. You all know yourselves. So however many ideas you can come up with is probably the amount I can come up with. I mean, I just threw out a few of them, and I'm sure there could be others. You know, some towns, when there's a black flag condition, like high winds, nobody's allowed to park on the street. We could do that. We could have a rule, a law that says on black flag days, everybody pull your cars off, put them somewhere else. I mean, they do that. If you live in a subdivision that has homeowner associations, they already have rules. You cannot park on the street. Nighttime, everybody got to park in their driveways or they tow your cars. I mean, so I think this is the start of the conversation. But what I brought up to you was just like the early on thought was just a swap. But there are more options that have been presented since last week, Wednesday. And you know what? Next week, Wednesday, we're going to have different options again. Because, you know, more people contribute to the conversation.
Thank you. I have a question for FEMA.
Alrighty.
Go ahead, sir.
I was recently offered housing and I declined because some issues I had with the facility, and called me the next day and said, hey, I have another place for you in Kihei. And I said, I'll take it. To date, I haven't heard anything from the guy, and I talked to FEMA people and they said, oh, that person already left. So I'm back in square one.
We'll check into your case individually. So if you come meet with me, I'll grab your name, FEMA number if you have it, or any way for me to identify it, and I'll check in with them directly and then get it back to you. There's so many that I've run into recently that are a long delay from the time that we make that contact and say, hey, we've got a place for you, and the time you get that follow-up. And so those are things that we need to look into. I also have a shameless plug. On Saturday, 9 to 3, there's a super housing matching event at the Sheraton. It's on Saturday, 9 to 3, where we're trying to match individuals who have housing and individuals who need housing. So that'll be a Sheraton 9 to 3, and parking is covered. It's going to be a voucher program, basically. We're going to validate. So thanks for being able to put an advertisement out.
Great, thank you. Sir?
Yes, I have a suggestion about one incident that happened couple weeks, I think last week, on my house. My house is in Wahikuli. The main house burned, and the Ohana, like everything, the Ohana is strong, and the Ohana doesn't burn. But we've been working in Wahikuli all the time, and last weekend, one homeless girl broke into my Ohana, and she was living there in my Ohana. So we worked from Monday to Friday, and nothing was there. So I come back Monday to work, and I always check my Ohana, and she was sleeping on my Ohana. She broke in and take a little belongings that I have there, value, coins and everything. I made the police report, and we know who was, and because she was on my Ohana. And I called the guys that are on the checkpoints, and I said, you guys, I don't know if you guys are allowed to do laps around the house that survive. And they say, no, we only do checkpoints, so there's none that drive around or take care of the houses that are still on foot. And my concern was like, if she was sleeping there, I noticed like she was smoking, and the Ohana is everything that I have. So of course I'm concerned like somebody else burned my little space that I have. So I want to get back to my Ohana to live there, but I need the other properties around me to be clear. And for sure, I can help. For sure, I'm gonna take care of my other neighbors because there's another houses below my Ohana that I can keep an eye on them. But for now, it's empty and nobody's keep an eye on the properties that survive.
It is true the security contract is for checkpoints. I think if Mayor wants to address more.
Well, did you file a police report? Okay. So, I mean, that's what I would recommend, obviously. Yeah, the folks we have at the checkpoint, they're not a roving patrol. They're just there to determine who's qualified to come in and not. My guess is this person walked towards your property. They didn't drive in, probably would have been stopped. But, I'll bring it up with the police, let them know about this. I don't know, has anybody else had a similar thing happen or they know about it's happening? Okay. It may be that the police can send, somebody. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what would happen if they drove past the house and didn't go inside or didn't look inside. I mean, they'd have to be pretty obvious that something was happening. But maybe that alone would be a deterrent, just to know that the police were driving through. Sorry that happened to obviously what's remaining of your property, but let me bring that up to the police. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Don't sit down yet. This is for
You asked your 5 questions already.
No, I only asked one.
And I'm going to ask you to hold the microphone a little
One
closer.
on the mic and the 5 was off the mic.
So many good comments and
Yes,
hints for Rebuild Lahaina. But as we're doing that and I'm glad you mentioned about the 20 feet clearance, et cetera, for the roads, just suggestions. But with Rebuild in the future, can you try and make sure that there's enough clearance left to drop the utility lines underground that has been promised for decades? I remember Carvalho days. Utilities were going to go underground. Electric lines were going to go underground. Cables underground. Not for the normal residents, though, only for wealthy neighborhoods and estate places. But wow, look what happened. So it would be really cool if advance for the future plan, make sure there's enough clearance to get those lines underground. Question number 2, while you're there, is also making sure that subdivisions and complexes have 2 enter and exit. Front Street Apartments only had 1 big flood of traffic right there. People couldn't get out. It was horrible. So I know in a lot of communities or on the mainland, I'm not sure, actually I haven't been there for my life, but there has to be 2 enter and exits to developments.
First of all, you're not old enough to be around since Elmer Carvalho. I know that. But secondly, I would say that I agree with what you just said. A lot of the new neighborhoods, they're required to have underground utilities. That's part of HOAs because that's all paid by the homeowners. That's all paid by the buyers of the homes. So that's all included in their projects. What we have here is we don't have a homeowners association. You have individual homeowners. So it's a little bit of a different situation, just to bring that up, because we've had these discussions with utility companies. So, but that is something that we've obviously talked about, trying to get some federal help to help get pay that cost so that it's not passed on to the ratepayers, like sometimes it would be, right? Everybody's bill goes up because you have this new infrastructure laid down. So, but we know what's safer, and we know what's preferred, and we know what's better. So that's true. And as far as entrance, exits, and I don't know what the rules of engineering are or architecture on what needs to happen in terms of subdivisions. But of course, our whole idea is to bring it back safer. And these are for the folks that live in these neighborhoods. It's not going to benefit the folks that live outside your neighborhood. This is going to be a benefit for the people who live in those homes every day, who call for first responders, who call for help. That's who we're thinking about. So just so you know, we've given it some thought. I think we're winding down. Oh, no, sorry. Yes.
Okay, we're going to end up with last question, and the mayor will close, and we'll go from there.
So I just have a request or suggestion. So thank you so much for including us in like the survey, and like I think it gave us a lot of hope to feel that we're actually heard, that the decision was listened. You know, the community got their voice heard, and so with that being said, I think community outreach is super important. You know, the decisions that are made. You know, you have an advisory committee, and, you know, I know someone in the committee that has a subcommittee and like ask the community questions like, hey, what do you guys think? They have these questions that they ask, but I'm gonna say that not all of them do that, you know, and so it makes a big difference when you have these questions and answers where people can, you know, let their voice be heard. But I think it's gonna be really vital and important, especially as a Kokua team member, right? Like, we're not going to be working anymore. So like, where is the community outreach going to be? Where are you going to have people in the community as part of Lahaina who are going to be able to share their voice, whether it's town hall or whatever it is? Because I truly, as an advocate of our community and being involved, I have hope because I know what's going on and I feel involved. And so when other people are heard and they feel like they're being heard, it makes a big difference in how they feel. So I think community engagement and involvement outreach is going to be really vital in the months coming, and not just a voice of an advisory committee or like the leaders in the community. There are other members in the community, I think, that should be involved in that.
Excellent point. Thank you for stating that. And I think I know we agree. Can I just get a sort of a sense, was doing that involvement by a survey, was that okay for most people? Yeah? Is that okay doing it that way? Because that's a real, I mean, you can cover a lot of ground and you can get a lot of information through. So I think we'll use that method and then report back to you folks. I did want to say one thing about the final disposal site and the temporary site. We don't own the land yet that we're talking about, that we're trying to acquire. And that's a piece that we have to work with our corporation counsel, our legal team, and others. So we don't own the land yet. So that's a plan that we'll try to get on. But once we do own it, and once we are able to build it out, we can go directly from the Lahaina lots directly to the final disposition site. We don't have to stop at Oluwalu. We're in Oluwalu right now, so we can clear the 168 lots that they've cleared so far. That's why we're in Oluwalu right now, or else we wouldn't be that far along. So just understand that part is as long as we need to. I think the council approved, I want to say 2 years. I was looking for tomorrow. I forget how long they allowed us to use that, unless we have to renew it. We hope it doesn't take that long, and we hope that we can get that other site up and running, work out all the traffic, work out all the logistics, and start to take the debris straight there, right from the lot. It's more efficient for everybody. And then start to remove the ones that's in Oluwalu. So just so you know, we're not gonna wait. As soon as it's approved, we'll start to move it to that site. That's our plan. I wanna say thank you to everybody. Again, a big aloha and aloha oi to Colonel Curry as he gets on his flight tomorrow. Can't thank you enough. I can tell by his humility, his candor, his humor, that Colonel Swenson is going to be a great fill for you, replacement. So honest with the community, just like you have been, Colonel. Curry. So anyway, for everybody, please drive home safely. If you need to talk to us, we'll be up here. Thank you.